Hi, well, we're here at MDI High School. Chris Popper joined by Megan McOsker, who is the gifted and talented teacher here at the high school. And Megan, one of the, I guess, you say gifted and talented and nobody really knows what that is. So tell us a little bit about your job description and what you do here at the high school.
Well, here at MDI High School, as is true of all schools in Maine, we are obliged to meet the needs of all of our students. And I'm one small part of that. And in my job, I seek to provide opportunities for students that extend beyond the classroom. An example of that is I work closely with the Jackson Lab and MDI Bio Lab in doing internships. It's important to note with gifted and talented education that unlike, for instance, in the state of Florida or Colorado or New York, GT identification is not particularly high stakes here. We do not limit opportunity to those who bear the label. The state of Maine wants to ensure that all of the students have appropriate challenge, and that is behind the mandate for gifted and talented services. But when they wrote the law, Chapter 104, they said your GT population is about 5% of your student body. And so every school district defines that differently. Here in the MDI RSS school system, we have enormous talents. We have talents of all types, including a significant academic talent. I think something like 20% of our freshman class score above 90th percentile on standardized math tests. So we've got a lot of bright kids. And again, I work closely with the faculty and community to provide opportunities for kids. And in no case is any single opportunity limited to GT identified kids. And that includes, again, we're fairly well known for our relationship with the Jackson Lab, MDI Bio Lab, and this week we're having our presentations of, this year we had 4 academic year interns, 1 at MDI Bio Lab and 3 at Jackson Lab. So that's an example of an incredible program that's really only appropriate for highly able, motivated, hardworking students. Yeah. And we also teach a class here in systems genetics called Independent Studies in Computational Biology, and that went for the first time this year. We teach that class in collaboration with the lab, the Jackson Lab, and the other schools that are involved in that include Maine School for Science and Math, as well as North Carolina School for Science and Math. Those are examples of science projects that I'm involved in.
So, I mean, it's important that all kids are challenged. I mean, absolutely. And whether that's taking AP classes, and you go from all ends of the educational spectrum. I mean, from Compass Rose to special ed to mainstream classes, and then the whole idea is, look, if you're going to be in school for 8 hours, you want to make sure that you're challenged and you're learning throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think gifted and talented education has often had a bad rap in terms of being elitist or special things for special people, but I think of it in terms of equity, and that every student should come to school and expect to be learning, expect to be challenged. And I particularly enjoy our high school because I feel that students are challenged in their classes. AP courses are not the appropriate choice for everyone, and not all GT kids can do AP classes because you can be cognitively really advanced, but maybe you're someone who has a hard time doing homework or that kind of thing. But we do have challenging classes across the board. And another aspect of the gifted and talented services here in Maine is with the arts, visual arts and performing arts. And anyone who knows our high school knows that we just have a terrific music program as well as an art program. And students are able to be challenged. We've had 2 students go to the Rhode Island School of Design recently. Our student this year is off to Maine College of Art with a fantastic scholarship. So I really feel good that we are providing advanced opportunities for students in these different fields.
Now this is the third year that you're here?
Yep.
And you came from Connors Emerson School, and we've got some robotics, and I mean the Connors Emerson School is nationally known for their robotic competitions.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the robotic competition and what's involved.
Yeah, so when I took this job, there was no robotics team at the high school. And the students that are now our freshmen, they were, well, this is a few years ago, so they were in sixth grade. So at the middle school, they used the Lego platform. And not only Connors Emerson, but many of our sending schools have robotics programs. Connors Emerson definitely blew it out of the park. They did that. Not only were those kids super smart, they had a fantastic out-of-school mentor, Dave Gallup, and some other parents, and they practiced every day for an hour and a half a day.
Yeah, I mean,
they were amazing.
And when we say a team, it's very much very similar to like the basketball team with the amount of work that they put into it.
Yes, and so a robotics competition in high school, the Lego platform is more of a middle school platform. And here at the high school, when I looked around and I collaborated with students who are now freshmen in college, were the students that I worked with the first year I was here, and I said, what do you guys want? And all of them wanted to compete. They didn't want to just make things. And we settled on the VEX platform, which is used by Maine high schools. There's two main competitions in Maine. The first robotics, which the robot is huge. I would need much larger facilities, and the price of entry is like $25,000.
Wow.
VEX is pretty expensive, but it's not that bad. And so here at the high school, the VEX platform is very challenging. We start with zero, nothing is put together. We've got a brain. The students are responsible for programming as well as building. And our first year of competition was last year, and we had a great time. Met students from MSSM and BAPST and UTC, United Technology Center in Bangor, Hamden Academy, Yarmouth. There's just a wonderful array of people that come together from all of their state. One of the things about the robotics competition is you're actually competing against other teams, but you're actually competing with, because it's always two robots against two robots, and it switches up and switches up. This year we had some graduates of the Connors Emerson famous Pickles team, and this was our first year with them. What happens when you come to high school is you have a much more extracurriculars. So there was no way we were doing an hour and a half a day. I kind of don't have that much time either. But this is an example, I think, very sophisticated. This is actually a robot that's they've been working on recently after the competition, and this has a sensor so that if it approaches something, it'll avoid it. And this, again, from scratch. Mad props, especially to Chris Butler, who's a junior. And here's an example of a scissors lift, really nicely engineered. It was very light, very fast. Again, Chris Butler, Taki Ishimura, Robbie Denegre, all coming together this year to compete. So we hope to build on the new team of this year and
how did they do in the competition?
Well, we did fairly well. Everyone was brand new this year because last year's participants either graduated, went to MSSM, and we had a couple of freshmen who didn't come back, who will be coming back next year. So this was a brand new team, and we competed in the qualifying event. We didn't win the states or anything like that, but we had Again, this was far more sophisticated, actually, build than anyone did last year. No offense to last year's team. And so I expect good things next year. We are meeting this spring. We continue to meet after the final competition in Maine is in February. We've continued to meet. This robot was constructed this spring, and I expect to have 2 teams next year. Yep.
What's the best thing you like about teaching here or working here at MDI High School?
Well, I think it's just an incredibly supportive high school, and I think the people and the students As gifted and talented specialists, by definition, you're not going to be the smartest person in the room. You're just not. This morning we're working this R programming course, and I mean, I provide opportunity, provide some guidance, but the kids are incredible, and I'm very much an advocate for computer science education, and in some of these realms, whether you're a gamer or someone who's just really good at figuring it out, there's some incredible intelligence in this school. So the students are wonderful. I mean, we have so many great students, really willing to put in the work, intellectually curious. We have our senior X's coming up on Friday, and I can think of amazing projects. Will Green with his time-lapse videos, Ethan working on some software for musicians, just a number of pretty amazing projects. And the faculty, we have an incredible faculty. I've been really inspired by the likes of many people, but I think in science, Jen Riefler has been a real inspiration in terms of emphasizing the importance of kids pushing themselves, but with support. So she has high expectations in that AP chemistry class, but then a lot of support. And of course, across the board, we've got amazing, Becky Lehman, Bo Green, just really incredible staff.
You've got 2 children here. How is that being at the same school as your children?
Well, my older daughter was also my student in middle school. So we kind of moved from Connors Emerson to the high school together, and it's worked out fairly well. As you saw earlier, I'm a handy source of rides.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I really like being here at the school. I feel like in the community, I'm a parent, I'm a resident of Bar Harbor, and I work in the school system, and I think that I am someone who's can speak knowledgeably about the school, and it's been great.
My son went, even though we live in Bangor, my older son went to Nokomis through a principal's agreement where my wife teaches. And I mean, they had a great time. They bonded every day driving to and from the school. I mean, of course, it's a less of a drive for you from Bar Harbor to MDI High School, but it's a half hour each way from Bangor to Nokomis. But it's a special time, and it can be a great experience to have your kids at school with you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely part of why I went into teaching. I have not always been a teacher. It's my 6th year, and I could no longer continue being a international guide to and naturalist, because my previous life I was always working on ships and working with whales and involved a lot of travel. So
really, so tell us about that. I mean, so. Where would you travel? And
well, I went to College of the Atlantic, and that's how I came to MDI. And although I didn't intend to, I did fall into the marine sciences there. And while I was in college, I started studying whales, both working on whale watch boats as well as studying whales. I still work on whale watch boats.
In the summer?
Yes, here out of Bar Harbor Whale Watch Company.
Okay,
yep.
Which is I mean, I've been on that, and I know, Zach Cliver, and
Zach is a fellow COA grad.
And they're, last year when they rescued the whale, and it was just, it's an amazing thing. And if you haven't been on a whale watch trip, you've got to go on it, because it's amazing. Oh, absolutely. But to be able to go out there, and that's one of the things that we have that's so neat about everything around here with the park, and but to be able to go out into the water and see just an entirely different area is just amazing.
And that's I worked on Mount Desert Rock, worked whale watching locally actually a million years ago out of Northeast Harbor, but that brought me to aerial surveys, and I moved on from that to doing field work. in the Gulf of Maine and Newfoundland. Kind of went on from that to working for small cruise ships in Antarctica. So I spent about 5 years solidly working on cruise ships, small cruise ships that carry about 100 passengers in Antarctica, Amazon, the Arctic. In the last year before we had children, I don't know, I was leading trips in Indonesia, Siberia. I worked on the American Orient Express, which is a train, kind of a private train across Canada 4 times.
Very ritzy.
Yeah,
yes.
These are all pretty good stuff. And so, again, it was wonderful, but, we did want to have children. And so when I kind of came back and stopped traveling full time, and after a few years, I think that teaching made the most sense in terms of my background and interests. And by training, I'm a science teacher, and I had a wonderful program at University of Maine, Masters of Science in Teaching program that was difficult, extremely difficult thesis program, but it did bring me to Connors Emerson and into a job.
Where's the neatest place you've traveled?
Oh my goodness. Well, sometimes I say the Gulf of Maine because I love especially the northern Gulf of Maine between Grand Manan and Nova Scotia, where it's just a tremendous amount of whale life. Of course, Antarctica is pretty amazing, and it's like the coast of Maine, only when the glaciers were here. So you just have to imagine like the coast of Maine with a lot of ice on top of it.
Well, if this winter was...
yeah. So, but there's so many amazing places in the world, but I particularly like the places where you still have an abundance of wildlife. And that is, there are some days when we're out with the whale watch in the summer here, and I can think of a day last summer where I think the herring were spawning, and we had, fin whales and humpback whales, and I saw a great white shark, and it was underneath, and there were seals, and probably my favorite places are where there are whales.
If you could travel anywhere to a place you haven't been, what's on your bucket list?
Yeah, where would I go? I would have a boat and maybe spend some time in the Indian Ocean. I've never spent time there, off Sri Lanka, or the Azores. I've actually seen a lot of amazing, the Azores, that's where I'm going to go. And an abundance of marine life, as well as really interesting culture.
Yeah.
So the Azores, if anyone's listening, that's where I want to go.
And win the lottery, that's where you're going. What do you like to do in your spare time? I mean, besides being out on the boat?
Spare time.
Or is there such a thing as spare time?
Well, I like to run. And I like to hike, and I like to be on the water. So anything that brings me out into nature. And my spare time is also kind of filled by things like we have our Bar Harbor Marine Resources Committee that I'm on, and so we're very interested in conserving our clam resources as well as other marine resources. So that brings me out. But I like to run a lot. And
have you done any?
With the kids.
Have you done? Good, because they're watching this, so that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done marathons?
Yeah. In fact, the last couple of years, I've done 2 marathons, and the first one I did was the Bay of Fundy Marathon. And one of the reasons I picked that is it was the first year they did it, and it goes from West Quoddy Head through Lubec up to the north end of Campobello and back to Lubec, and I thought
you got to cross the border. Do they take into account? All right, we're gonna take a half hour off because you're gonna have to cross the border.
Actually,
and stuff like that.
you have to get all cleared in advance. But I thought that would be a marathon I could see a whale from, and I did.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. There were minke whales out there about mile 18. I was like, yay. And I did the MDI marathon this past fall, which is amazing. I mean, it was just an incredible marathon, great spectators, and also just this sort of great feeling that you've run, quite a bit of this island.
The part that amazes me is that, there was Boomer Carroll, and there was someone else that just decided to run the. I remember them playing football on Saturday or Friday night. Colby Candage, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know, but all I remember is seeing them running, and I'm going, what is wrong with these two? Because then they have got football practice on. 26.2 miles, no big deal.
They're amazing. I couldn't do that.
And they were running in normal sneakers. It's like, boys, come on.
Yes. Yeah. No, we have amazing kids. I did mention that.
there are amazing kids here, and it's a great school. Well, the camera's yours. What do you want to say to everybody that's watching?
Well, recently I've started to think of myself and kind of try to get away from some of the negative connotations of the word gifted. And I think every student should really think about themselves and parents of themselves as well as their students as you have talent, and what are you going to do about it? How are you going to develop your talent? And the worst thing I think that kids do is that they're afraid. They kind of hold back. They're nervous about speaking out, nervous about standing out. And part of that is just part of being in high school. But the more that students can stop underestimating themselves, the more they're going to achieve. And I think that is something that we all have to be aware of, never to underestimate any of our students. They're all incredibly capable. We don't know in what way quite yet. As a community, if anyone's out there watching, we need you. Students are here at school and they're learning a lot in their classes. But one of the things I really think is powerful is when the students bring that learning outside of their classes. And that's something that is really important, but it requires community participation and cooperation.
One of the neat things about the community participation, as you mentioned, the Senior X, the exhibitions, and I know that Heather Dillon was looking for community members to be part of the team.
Yeah, we always need community members to watch the Senior X's and help us kind of assess. But we also, every year we have about 120 to 150 seniors, and so about half of them at any given time are doing Senior X's, and they need mentors. We've had students this week who are doing projects in fly fishing and catering and computer programming. So the talents of the community are really appreciated, and we appreciate all the help that we get here.
Perfect. That's this week of Meet the MDI Teacher. We thank you for watching. Check out all the videos we have. Not only, I think you're number 23 now in the series of Meet the MDI Teacher, but check out all the other videos we have on the WDEA YouTube channel.